a presentation which we both have prepared. So I hand it over to Amit and Paresh in the time of interest. Thank you, gentlemen. Over to you guys.
Thank you so much, Harneet, for such a beautiful introduction. Paresh, at this time, would you want to share? Okay. Could you make it full screen?
Amit, am I audible?
Yes, you are. Can you make it full screen?
Yeah. Is it okay?
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and thanks everyone here for giving us an opportunity to present to individuals like you. Startups are the backbone of the economy which we have today. And in these difficult times, it is you entrepreneurs which are leading the light. We are going to talk about why pricing is important. And I'll talk about start from a point that people typically spend about 30% more on marketing than on development. The returns on marketing could be amplified if you price your product right. Pricing is the most important factor which will help you improve your sales, get you better at marketing, and also be able to help you succeed in your idea. I've worked with a lot of startups and Series A funded, Series B funded companies and cohorts. And what I've found is that the companies that have succeeded are the ones who were able to experiment with their pricing. A lot of us, when we build products and when we sell them, try to experiment with UI features, our approach to the sales, starting with B2B, starting with B2C. However, it is pricing that would help us get better results. Is everyone able to hear me?
Yes, Amit, you can just go ahead.
Yeah. So I would start with thanking Golden, Frankly, and Deshpande Startups for giving us an opportunity. And thank you to all the members who have filled the form. You guys have built an amazing product. I saw SaaS for manufacturing, and then we saw a handloom authentication service. We heard about work management software, which Amay has built, and we also heard about the sugarcane harvester machines, which Baswaraj has built. Let me say, entrepreneurs and people like you have done a wonderful job. These are the these are the products which are required for us to grow ahead. And as you've built and are now ready to market the product, pricing is the most important aspect which you should care about. Has anyone ever thought that they have not priced their product right? I think almost everyone has. But then this is the first point when you think that you've not priced your product right. And the ability to think that you should change the pricing to get better customers starts your journey of building the fundamentals of experimentation with pricing. You must move and experiment and change your pricing along with other parameters to see the success. And we've built frameworks in past, and we've also helped with coming up with models of how you could price the product, which we would discuss. But fundamentally, please ensure that you keep a tab on how you price your product, or what you price your product. More importantly, ensure that you have an experimentation mindset to find the product, to price the product correctly. Let's move to the next slide, Paresh.
Yeah. So hello everyone. This is Paresh, and before I start, let me thank Deshpande Startup and in particular Golden for arranging this. And thanks everyone for joining and filling up the forms. Those inputs were really helpful for us to build and understand the requirement for today's session. So, Amit, shall I continue with this?
Please go ahead.
Yeah. So basically, how to price the product is a very important question which every company and entrepreneur is thinking about. So typically there are three models or three approaches. Everyone knows the cost base. This is used when you are having a very heavy competition, and the cost of your product very precisely, and then you add some markup to that. This is also generally used when your product is exactly similar or very less differentiators with others. So then you can go with the cost base, and generally it is for the commodity products or the retail products which we generally see in the market. However, cost base pricing is having some positives and negatives, that is tops and flops. So I would say it is very easy to calculate, is the major benefit, provided you know the cost. Now when it comes to the cost, it includes the fixed cost plus variable cost, and you all know what are the elements of the fixed cost and then the variable cost. The second advantage which I could see with the cost base is if suppose there are price fluctuations with your inputs, then you can accommodate your the entire fluctuation in the cost with the prices. So that would always ensure your marketing manager that whatever you are selling is generating a profit. So in case of any changes in the cost structure, your product would still make some profit in the market. So that is the advantage of the cost-based pricing. However, cost base is not so good in few aspects. The first important disadvantage which I feel is it actually practically ignores the price elasticity of demand. So there is a relationship between the price and then the demand, and somehow if you just purely use the cost-based model, this elasticity is being ignored, and then you may lose the business. Second disadvantage which I could see is it is not exactly taking care of the competition, because you are just thinking from your perspective that okay, my cost is X and I want to have say some markup, so my cost is say or my price is say 2x or 2.5x. So you are not thinking outside of your own system, and that may result in some negative results at the end. Third disadvantage which I could see is if suppose you are not analyzing how much is the willingness or readiness of customer to pay, and you just have the price which is below the preparedness of the customer to pay, then you may lose the profit. On the other side, if your prices are high with cost base high compared to the ability of customer to pay, then you may lose the sale. So this pure cost base will act both the ways. If your price is too low compared to the paying capacity, then you will lose the profit. However, if it is too high, compared to the purchasing power of the customer, then you will lose the business. And obviously, there are fewer controls with cost, and you cannot all the time dynamically control it. So cost-based is a fundamental model. Some industries are still using it, and it is rightly so. Now the second one is the market-based pricing. So it is having a slightly better flexibility and how you are going to adopt that. So if you are having a kind of a exact matching or nearly matching competitor, then you can compare the price structure of that particular competitor, and you can align your product based on that. There is another aspect to it, and that another aspect is you need to also analyze the customer, because in the market, competitor and customer both are going to influence your business. So as you are analyzing the competition, we also have to analyze the customer. What is their paying capacity, what type of segment we are focusing, and how much customer we willing to pay. So that also we need to take care of. And there should be some kind of a room for the differentiation. Now, what generally the smart product maker does, that they add on some feature which the customer may not able to understand or differentiate clearly. So customer may feel that this product is compared to the other product having slightly better feature. So that's the way some companies are fooling the customers. The best example for market base is hospitality, and I could give example of Oyo. Like Oyo has really disrupted the hospitality industry way back. Now these days, Oyo and the entire industry is not doing good. However, Oyo is the example who has disrupted the entire market because they have lowered down the prices heavily. So that is the market-based pricing, wherein you are comparing the competitors and also you are studying the customers. The last one is the value-based, and yes, this is something which is suggesting the differentiator. What is the value which customer is perceiving out of your product? And that is something which is a kind of a unique selling point of your product, and there is very less or zero competition particular to that particular feature. Then it's a value-based product. There are many examples. For example, the Nike shoes, right from the product raw material quality till the feel, everything is excellent, everything is awesome. So guys can ready to pay some extra amount for such valued product, so they can charge premium. And generally in value-based product, when the quality is at a very high level, then the segment of the customers which you are focusing would be also from that quality conscious or value conscious customer segment. Another example is considering today's situation of COVID-19. If any lab establishes a vaccine, a proven vaccine, then definitely that formula will have huge value, because currently the entire humanity is struggling and everyone is in search of that particular formula, a vaccine to tackle the current situation. So that is a very high valued product at the moment. So if your product is having a great value, which is being pursued, the value should be pursued by the customer, by the way. You may feel that I'm giving a value product, but whether your customer is, feeling that, yes, this product is having a value for them, then definitely you can have a value-based pricing. So these are the three models. Generally, in real life, you can have a combination of all these. We cannot just stick to one practically. So these are the three approaches. Now, understanding your competition is also playing very important role. For example, what are the discounts which your competitors are offering? Then even though the discounts are there, the price is lower, but however, whether your product is having more features than the competition, then that feature gap also needs to be analyzed properly, and then the price range. So your product may have, say, in the market, whatever product you are selling it may be having a price range of, say, from 45 rupees to, say, 150 rupees. So this is the price range, and now my product is somewhere in between, say, 75 or 80 rupees. Then I need to always get convinced first myself and to my customer how the 45 rupee product and 80 rupee my product, there is a gap in the feature, and obviously the product which is on the higher price range, therein you need to pitch in that your product is giving you the economy for the similar features. So comparing the understanding the competition is in these three banners is extremely important: discount, feature gaps, and then the price range. Am I audible, Amit and Golden?
Yes.
Yeah.
Would you want to take any questions at this point, or maybe we keep them at the end?
I think we will. Golden, questions, shall we take it at
I think let's take them at the end.
Yeah. So while analyzing the competition, generally these are the three areas which we need to think about. Then the margins. Everyone knows that margin is extremely important. We are not running any charitable, institutions. So everybody is running the business for definitely the margins, because that will decide the bottom line at the end of the year or at the end of the day. So the margins, that is something we call it as also, with one example, like if you are having a direct margin example, you are having a product which is having some raw material and then processing, that is operational cost, and some overheads or the fixed cost. And if your total expense to have that product is, say, 300 rupees, and if you are selling at 650, then the direct margin is 54%. This is a very straightforward example, the direct margin example. However, in many cases, the practicality may be slightly complex. However, the direct margins can be calculated based on your cost and the prices. So this is all about the pricing strategy. And Amit, may I request you to take it forward with the pricing influencers?
Oh, absolutely. Well, before I start the pricing influencers, what I would like to ask this question, and what do you think the biggest influencer is in the pricing? And would anyone would like to answer or give a guess? Okay. I think, well, we'll go ahead, but the answer to such a question would have been your customers are the biggest influencer. There are other factors as well which help to influence how you price your product and how well your product sells. In the upcoming slides, we would talk about those pricing influencers which will help us build a pricing model, effective pricing model for our startup. Could you please move to the next slide?
Yeah.
So secondary after your customer, your competition is a very important factor when you build pricing. If you guess, look at the picture. There are two restaurants. The first one is your daily restaurant where you go, probably an Udupi restaurant. And then the second one is a cafe coffee day, a very Bangalorean or a Kannada restaurant. The price of coffee in each of this is different. You need to know your competition when you price your product. a normal restaurant might not price the product as much as a cafe coffee day. The competition has to be understood more than anything else. Some people say, keep your friends close and enemies closer. So if you're building a product which is a SaaS-based product, understand what your competition is, who your next door competitor is. Is it the biggest SaaS company in the world, or is it a smaller company from China or from Silicon Valley that's competing for your business? It's important to know where your customers are, and then based on that, decide on the competition. I see there are three important factors which you should take down, and we should look at while identifying what is your competition. The three important factors are the size of your market and the size of your competitor's market. The second important factor which you should look at while deciding who your competitor is your product features. Now, why do I say product features as secondary factor? Is because features tend to change, proceed, and based on what the customer's wants and needs are. So that's why the primary consideration should be your market, whom you're reaching out to derive the competition, and then the features. You might not have the features which your competition has at this point. Probably they have an early mover advantage. But that does not mean that you cannot crack those features. So possibly put the market size, who your customer is, to determine what is the competition, who is the competitor to you. And Cafe Coffee Day, the stark difference between Cafe Coffee Day and the Udupi restaurant tells us that while both of them sell the same product, coffee, they should not be judged, or neither of them should judge each other as the competition. We can move ahead. Well, so this is a very important point while deciding your pricing. Demand. Look at the demand curve, and who doesn't know about Chai Point, the quintessential product or chai chain from Bangalore, which has taken over India by storm. It's very famous there, and it's very famous here as well. Because they found out a problem of demand and having a chai in a neat, clean cafe. Identify what your demand is. What is the demand? What is it that your customer are needing? Do they want to go to a roadside stall to purchase tea, or would they be willing to shell a few more to go to a place which is more hygienic and yet is fast? I don't think anybody else has been able to capture it so beautifully as Chai Point has done in today's day. In Karnataka, Maharashtra, South India. And the reason they've been able to do it is because they believe that they've been able to understand the demand very well. The demand for a beverage tea has been understood by them. Let's move on to the next slide. So here is another story which I would want to share, is about Amul. We know that there was dairy farming available, but there weren't people who were there doing it at such a large scale as much as Amul did. And they got the first movers advantage. They became the household name. They became synonymous with bread, butter, milk, and all the other dairy products which we all love so much. A magnificent example of cooperative movements which Amul has become. But most importantly, why Amul thrived is because they had a first mover's advantage while doing the white revolution. If you are building a product which is in the SaaS space, which is in healthcare, this is the time. You have the world can be divided right now into two parts: before COVID and after COVID, BC and AC. You are the entrepreneurs who will have access to build the first mover product, first mover advantage in the after COVID world, where you will have build products for a market which has just risen completely new. And everyone who's present on this call today has that first mover's advantage. The first mover advantage is very important while pricing. You typically have the ability to build a monopoly. One of the other wrong things which first mover advantage has is that you have to do a lot of hard work. If you are build a product for which there is no demand, or people do not understand what problem the product is going to solve, you might not be able to get those advantages. However, I still feel that it outweighs your advantage. It is outweighed by your advantage of being the first person to build it. So be into businesses. While building a pricing, segment your product in a way that you are first mover. I'll give you Amul. So it's not that Amul was the first butter in India. It's not that Amul was the first organized butter in India, but the scale at which they did, they built a new market and were the first mover in that market. So while doing value-based pricing or pricing your product, slice your market in a way that you become first mover in that space. We've heard about AWS. AWS was not the first company that built cloud, or Amazon cloud, as we say. But the scale at which they built it, they said that they were the first mover. They carved the market in such a way that they got the first mover advantage there. So, my friends, whenever you build something and want to price something for your product, try and size your market in a way that you are a first mover in that market. Let's move ahead then. Okay, this is my favorite part. If you've seen in this COVID times, everyone has come up with automated dispenser. So what does Asian Paints do? Because not many people are painting houses these days. They come up with a sleek, beautiful, high quality dispenser. That's an amazing thing. People are already buying automatic dispensers, and you've got dispensers from local manufacturers which do the job as well. But then what Asian Paints did is build a very high quality and smooth looking. Look at this is an actual product which I've used here in the example. So they built a very high quality, highly efficient, good looking quality dispenser, and then marketed it. And to tell you further about this, my cousin, she is the distributor for Sleek. So what she says is that there's a tremendous response. Everyone needs a dispenser, but there are people who need better quality, good-looking dispenser, which is a market which Asian Paints thought they could crack. and they've been able to. Quality sometimes you would perceive as in comparison to the other products in market. Typically, I would say that quality is the best version of what you think for that particular price. So Sleek is a good product at about 7,000 rupees, the quality it provides. Quality, please consider it associated to a price rather than to what's available in market, how the market is growing. That way you will be able to carve a niche price for yourself and a niche market for yourself as well. Okay, since we are taking questions at the end, we'll move to the next slide. Okay, this is something before this is a blob, an interesting water capsule which can be eaten, easy to store, easy to transport. That's it's something that's portable and at the same time is non-toxic or is very much safe. It's a unique product in its own way. Not that it's been a very great hit, but it has provided an alternate marketplace. So try and see that if you could bring some sort of uniqueness to any of your products which you build. That helps you bring out the value in the pricing which you do. The value-based pricing or any pricing mechanism is built on these tenets. Your uniqueness, your competition, your quality. When you experiment with these, you can provide a right value of your product to the customers. In the interest of time, I think we'll have to move ahead pretty fast.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think now Harneet.
So that's my thing. But can we take one or two questions before we go to the training and workshop? Paresh or Golden, what do you think?
Yeah, why didn't you just complete the other part also, so it will be more specific. Now you have some guiding principles, you can get into specifics, and after that you can have discussion.
Great. Yep. So that completes the presentation on the guiding principles of product pricing, which we have. Harneet, would you like to now talk about this next section?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Amit and Paresh for enlightening us with the pricing strategies and influencing activities around. And now, gentlemen, I would like to just quote it that Productant Pune, as we have already discussed, organizes various workshops and trainings. Today, we have an exclusive training for some of the problems that you guys have posted in the form that we circulated. We have chosen few questions from there, and we'll be providing a short training on that. So basically, a training would be a brief insight to the problem statement and a direction towards the solution. But however, if you want your problem to be addressed on a broader aspect, where you would like to discuss the cost-benefit analysis, you would like to discuss the value-based pricing, or you would like to discuss the competitor and the product, and then how can you place your product in terms of pricing. We also do one-on-one coaching as well, wherein you can reach out to us through Golden or Samrat or directly to Mr. Paresh, Amit or me, whichever ways the communication can go on. And there we will be able to, help you with the exact pricing as much as to the knowledge available with us. And that's where we can coach people. And we also have a great lead of product managers and other product personalities who can help you incorporate this pricing strategy. So we have a full army ready for you guys to help. So do let us know and reach out to us on that note. With that note, and in the interest of time, I will invite Amit and Paresh to the stage for conducting the training session. Over to you, Amit and Paresh.
Thanks, Harneet. Amit, am I audible? Golden, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yeah. All the participants, like as Amit and I already mentioned, that thanks to one and all who has given us the inputs through the survey form. Now, what we did, to give you the practical flavor, we have selected two cases, interesting cases, and we would be discussing their, expectation or their problems currently, and then we would try to focus on different probable areas which you could try it out. So, Amit, shall I start with the first one?
Yeah.
Yeah. So first one is Uday's case, Uday Raja Kirana. So I hope Uday is here. Uday, are you there? I think
Uday is there. Yes.
Yeah. So Uday had shared about his product. He is manufacturing hearing loss diagnostic kits, and currently it is already in the market. He tried different strategies to price it. Initially he started with the SaaS, and now he's not using SaaS, he's using a different model. And now his question was, how can he actually show the importance of the quality of the product and services, rather than just selling it at a cost or the price conscious customer. So how he can move the focus of the customer from price to the value in real sense. And also he has a second question, that how he should negotiate with someone who is a buyer and who is too price conscious. So these are the two things which Uday is expecting from us. So how would you advise him, or what are the different options to move the customer from price and price to value and value?
Okay, that's an excellent question. You guys can hear me? Uday, I understand you're into building a diagnostic device. So one thing interesting about Uday's product is that he might want to decrease the product price. He's trying to sell it at 2,22,000, and he's willing to sell it at 2 lakh. I also understand about your example. So let me tell you one example. I work for a company called Nada Homes. Nada Homes in US, whenever you buy a home, you have to shell out about 3% broker fee. And when you buy a home as well, you have to give a 3% broker fee. What my organization does is that we have disrupted this market, and we charge about 2% or 1% broker fee, depending upon the product segment we are servicing. So we do a software only, but we understand that you have a software plus a hardware model. Typically, as much as I understand, your innovation is in the software, and you are upselling it by packaging it with the hardware. Both hardware and software, selling it together is a good option. I would also think that if you could consider selling a software separately and a hardware separately. This way, customers beyond borders who would want only a software solution could use it as well and integrate it with the hardware they have. Also, one of the key aspects of building any B2B product or product for professionals, at certain point of time, you might want to build a customer advocacy group. A customer advocacy group is a group of evangelists or your early adapters who would stand by you, who would say nice things about your product to the market and to the community. Identify those people and build a group of these evangelists who would not only they help in two particular ways. A, they tell the market that, hey, here is a superior product. And B, they tell you and your team on what are the important features which you should build next. While every B2B, a lot of B2B software products should have a customer advocacy group. They help really in shaping your product in both the pricing and also being your voice to the customers, other customers, prospects. Uday, does that help answer your question?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think, yeah, he's messaging because he has some issue with his mic.
Okay. Well, yes, this could be a general used framework. Product. Whenever you price a product, ensure that you convey the value, and also understand where lies the innovation within your product. In this case, it lied in the software. So yeah, that is what would help grow your customer base.
Yeah. So Amit, shall we move to the next case?
Yes.
Yeah. So next case is of Mr. Navjeet, and let me first thank him and congratulate him, because these days this Atmanirbhar Bharat is being promoted and everybody is speaking about it. But however, Navjeet has actually lived that. What he did, he has came up with a product which is a headphone, and it is really a quality product, and he has benchmarked it against many established players like Sony and other global players. And so that's why I'm so happy for Navneet that he is indigenously building up such a product, and now he has typical two questions, or rather the only one question which covers many things. What should be the proper pricing strategy? And Amit, he has not yet launched the product in the market. He is currently in the evaluation state. So if I'm having a product which is yet to be launched and I have better features or comparable features with the global brands, then how shall my product strategy should be? So this is the question from Navjeet.
Thank you so much, Paresh. And Navjeet, yes, in true words, you're doing an amazing work. Not only because your product is of such a great quality, innovation in sound is something where India typically needs, is an emerging market. Now, the price of your product, or if you want to price it for the premium or the luxury segment, and I'll tell you that I sold a product which was a travel platform for the high-end luxury market. A lot of these luxury or premium customers, they are more concerned with the value which the product brings. Very demanding, very discerning set of customers. They would pay a premium and are willing to pay you the premium. So the best part of working in the luxury or a premium market segment is that you get premium paid. You make more profits per customer than you would have in your standard or lower spectrum of the funnel. So that's a good part of it. Now, the tough part of it is that these are the customers who would be finicky about every little detail. So if you have a product for which you can tell the value, that is when this market would look up to you. So and value in terms of customization. So to give you a paraphrase an example, if you are selling a denim or a jeans for 1,000 rupees, and now you would want to sell it at about 5,000 rupees a pair, how would you do that? You need to make it customized. It must fit absolutely well to the customer who's giving a premium for your jeans. So customization options, ability to personalize the product is something which this market or this segment of customers prefer and will give the price to. The other aspect this type of customer plays an importance on is the quality or the certifications, ensuring that it is safe, it is it's one of the it's benchmarked, and those benchmarks are approved. So try and see if there are any certifications to your product which also give more credibility to what you're selling, and that will help you get the higher pricing which you would want. I've worked with a lot of so some of these luxury customers are also they do not pay a lot of emphasis on higher brand. For them, they feel that they bring value to a brand. So they a premium customer feels that by being him or her using a particular brand, they bring value to the brand. They are also the most experimental people and will purchase a product if they find that it has a good quality, it is customizable to their needs, and is able to care to whatever ways they would want to use it. So when you build a product for this particular market segment, ensure that you build a customizable product. Other advantage of serving to this high-end customer or premium customer is you can launch a mid-range or a smaller range product which would sell like hotcakes. Believe me, if this customer segment approves of you, all the other customer segments are easy to crack. And that's where, my friend, you would make more and more volumes. You would make profits here and you would make volumes there. So yeah, customize it, make good quality, and then you should launch it at the price point which you have mentioned. And I don't feel that it is high by any way. I did some research and I saw that you've priced it right.
Yeah, Amit, just to support your last point, that whenever you launch a product for a premier segment customer, and then if you launch a product for a mid-range, then it is very easy. Then the best example is of Toyota. So they in India they launch first very high-end cars, and then now they are selling it into the mid-range. So the brand has already been established in the country. So
yeah, you're right. Okay,
yeah.
we can take.
Yes, Amit.
So we have.
Thank you for the feedback.
Hey, Navjeet, you're most
So
welcome.
I have a follow-up question. So basically, when we launch, like, how do we experiment, especially considering our product, where once the price is put out, it is very hard to kind of reduce it because the market already knows what is the price it has been put out. Unlike softwares where you can customize or give trial periods and all those stuff. So in that way, how do we experiment? Because earlier we can just launch or introduce and then we can slash the price and then we can increase. But again, it's kind of difficult to do that. So any advice on that regarding experimenting with pricing hardware products?
Very good question, Navjeet. And yes, it is difficult to do in COTS product. You cannot easily change the pricing. But what is easier in COTS product is you could launch newer variants. You can wrap up. So if you see a lot of computers or electronics, they would do minor changes in their configuration and change the pricing here and there. Not necessarily all the time, those minor configuration changes impact the cost. That doesn't happen, but they are able to support a newer product range. So if you look at Dell or if you look at HP or Lenovo, within the same RAM or within the same HDD, they have at least 20 to 30 variants of product with minor change here and there. That helps them differentiate with the competition as well, and they are able to launch multiple products as well. So you do not launch just one brand in a hardware product. You launch at least 5 or 6 brands with one with a gray color. So you have a headphones. You say that the standard comes in gray, and then there is a brand which comes in red color, and that costs a bit more. And then there's a brand which comes in probably blue color, and then green, and that could cost some other. You could also, if these are wired headphones, then a headphone with like a meter long or 2 meter long wire would cost a bit more. That way you could experiment with price.
Got it. Thank you.
I hope that answers those questions. We can take a few more questions, I think.
Amit, you can take the questions that are there on the.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we have some questions on the chat box. Amit, would you want to read it? Would you want me to read it?
Yeah. Yes, please.
Okay. So first question we have from Lifetron Health. They are into medical device innovation, and their question is how to price a product with equal or better features compared to global established companies' products in relevance to a startup.
Okay. I'm assuming Lifetrons is launching in the same market as the global company.
Just a minute. I am interrupting you, Amit. I am Dr. Kanti, CEO of Lifetrons. We are into medical devices innovations, and we are manufacturing global class products. But when it comes to pitching our product against the globally established product companies,
Yes.
it becomes a very difficult proposition as a startup because we are not recognized as a brand or not well established in the market. So what should be the strategy for our pricing?
Well, is the market well established? Is the market? I'm assuming that this
market is quite well established.
So what I think understand is that you want an entry into the market as a startup. Typically, yes.
How we need to strategize our pricing points.
Okay, I would ask one more question.
Yes.
Does your product have an innovative offering?
Yeah. We have innovative offering. It is uniquely designed. We have patented it.
Okay. Then that is the value of your product. You need to be able to convince the customers about the value. Now, this is more of a difficult situation when you do not have customers, or you have to find your early adapters. I find it easier sometimes to price the product lower initially to gain those early adapters. The loss of revenue because you're pricing a product less than what it should be at market could be attributed to some of your marketing costs. We as startups do not have that marketing muscle as a multinational brand has. So we must look at how the innovative ways we can market our products and increase customer adoption. One of the ways is to price it less initially, offer an introductory price, as they would say. Whenever companies enter newer markets, one strategy they do is offer it at a lower price to gain market share. Once you have gained that market share, have at least 10 or 12 early adapters. You could then come up with a variant of your product, which you sell it at a certain price. My current company, we are probably in the same situation as we are bringing the product to India. India is a price sensitive market, we all know. So we are giving the few early editions of our software for almost close to nil price as an introductory offer. What do we gain with that? We gain customers who tell us what our product has and what it doesn't. We are trying to learn the nerve of this market by having users adapt to the product. It is as much as it is important for you to build a product, it is also important for you to have early adapters for your product. And think of this as a marketing investment when you price it at, when you give the first few early adapters a lower price.
Is there a threat of customers taking the product to be less competitive to the global companies?
Well, you come up with a newer product then. All you do is say that we have changed the color to red and this is now priced more.
Price. When we tell we are coming with a lower price, is there a threat that people may take up that this doesn't have as much features or as much quality compared to global products?
Sir, there is a way to position it. So what we do is we say that we are giving a discount. We still ensure that the PO has the value of what we would have asked for. So let's say we sold our software for 1 lakh a year to a customer. For the first year, we give a discount of 1 lakh rupees. Okay.
Something like introductory offer or some sort of.
Yes, but the next year, when the customer has now used the products and finds the value, we say that, hey, we are discontinuing the discount. Okay, so we might make profit in the long range. So don't reduce the product price. I would say increase the discount percentage.
That would be certainly great.
And in case of a hardware product, you can always come up with newer variants. even Apple. So Apple, I don't use much of them, but I remembered that Apple had a phone which they called as Apple Red, and the only difference it had was a red color, and they charged 5,000 rupees more for it.
Yeah.
So it's some people bought it. You could probably think of those more innovative ways to price your product. But at this point, if you are entering into a market which is established, it is important to find users for your product.
Certainly.
And then once they increase, probably build a customer advisory board. I'm a big fan of customer advisory board. They helped me and my previous company build in a lot of customers. Have a board of advisors. If you do not have you if you have influential people around, bring them onto your board.
Yeah, certainly I'll work on it, sir.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Amit,
And thanks, Amit. So maybe we'll move quickly to the next question. We have about 3 questions to answer. Okay.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
So the next question is from Mr. Ajay Kabari.
Okay.
He is into retail video analytics, and his question is how to research the competition pricing being a B2B product plus software, which can help us in better pricing strategy and approach to clients.
Ajay, sir, I have looked at your product, and it's a edge device which has 10 cameras, and you sell it as 10 cameras and a software, right?
Correct.
So I have 2 suggestions for you. First is separate your hardware and software. Okay. You can try and build partnership with other hardware manufacturers of cameras and give them your software free or at certain price. That will help increase your adoption of your software in the market, and you would be able to demand a price which you want to. When you bundle it as one, hardware plus software, you are only doing it, you are the only person doing it. So for you, defining the competitive strategy or pricing will be, you'll have to look at 2 segments. One is the hardware manufacturers, what is the price of a camera, and then how do other competitors price it, and then video analytics agency, how do they price it. Pose as a customer, and then you should be able to get those numbers, which I'm sure you would have already done, right? And
yeah.
But then for your product, I had this suggestion that if you could sell it as a software platform as well, there's a huge chance that you would get a lot of customers. Does that help answer?
Yes. And one more thing I wanted to ask is basically since it's a B2B sales, whenever we go with a pricing structure, it goes with 3+ iterations, maybe going with VP, IT admins, we're negotiating the whole price part. So how do we need to prepare ourselves on a negotiation strategy so that this is the value proposition which we are proposing, so that the negotiation becomes easier?
Put your value. Where is your value? Is it in the hardware or is it in the software?
It's in the software.
So tell people that that's where the value is. You are asking a price for the value of software, not the hardware. If they want, they can purchase hardware from somewhere else, but then put a caveat that you'll have to look at how much money it will require to support. That will bring you support income as well, or AMC contracts as well for other hardwares. For softwares, you could, I believe you've already tried subscription model. I think it's a good idea to try it again. Also, other way, whenever you make a new product enter the market, have 2 or 3 versions of it. Light, professional, enterprise. You could call that's just giving an example, but you could call it as, hey, this is an entry-level product, light edition, which would cost you about 10,000 rupees a month or 10,000 rupees a year. This is a standard edition of software and hardware, which would cost you about 1 lakh rupees a year, or a price which you would want your customer original product to buy too. And then give an enterprise edition, which say that would cost about 3 lakh, but we will have a lot of support and we will be there practically whenever you need us. This way, the customer will come and buy the version which you want him to.
Sure, Amit. This brings a lot of clarity. Thank you.
Okay.
So the next question is from Mr. Ranjan Achyar. His business name is Printalytics, manufacturing as a service, one stop, one shop for services through our platform. Question is, do you suggest that we price our platform directly to customers or keep it as an element in our service cost? We do have a B2B focus and mostly looking at batch and contract manufacturing services.
Can Mr. Ranjan just explain what he means?
Yeah, Amit, hope I'm audible.
Yes, I didn't get the platform part of it.
So we are currently offering, manufacturing services, prototyping and manufacturing services. We want to productize our offerings, through a platform. Basically, make majority of it, as a standard, where people upload their parts and get to know, what would suit best in terms of the numbers they are looking at. That's the way we are targeting. So which means we are helping customers, even if they come to us with 100 numbers or 100,000 numbers. So both ways we are looking at in terms of our services, and this some portion of this we would like to make sure that it is automated and it's available on the platform as a choice to customers. So in this regard, we are on the path of building the platform. We just wanted to know, if we could price it as an element. Say, for example, Book My Show, builds it as an internet handling service to customer, right? Versus putting it as a part of our services and offering the platform, just at no cost. That's what I meant.
Book My Show puts it as an internet. Book My Show puts it as an internet. Ranjan, could you go on mute, please? Could you go on mute, please? Thank you. Very interesting platform, Ranjan. I think that Book My Show is definitely a good use case when you want to put it forward to the customer or end users. But manufacturing has a bigger life cycle. From a point your product is manufactured to a point where it is in the hands of the consumer. Also, since you are a platform, you might want to charge it to the platform users, which is your contract-based manufacturers. Other than that, I also have I would also suggest that take only a few. Building a platform requires a lot of efforts, and a platform which is robust for multiple verticals is more and more effort. If we could focus on certain verticals, like you said, that batch manufacturing on only a certain few of products, that is when you will be able to price it to the end users. But unless you're doing that, I strongly suggest that you would want to charge it to the current users or manufacturers of your platform. Okay. Or in short, I don't recommend the Book My Show module.
Right. Thank you. Thanks.
Okay.
Okay, we have one last question, Amit.
Okay.
That is from Mr. Vijay Krishnappa. He is here from Kosha. he says we give authentication service to weavers. There is a device cost which is equivalent to annual subscription cost. How to price it? Bundle together, sell separately, or load device cost across multiple years.
Vijay, could you maybe explain a bit? Thank you, Harmeet.
Yeah, Amit. So, see, we have developed a system to say, say for example, consider a sari. Somebody buys a Banarasi silk sari. The customer doesn't know whether it's a genuine handmade. So, though people claim, sales people claim all the things saying that, this is genuine handmade and all. So this system actually helps customer in deciding whether the product is genuine and it's handmade or not.
Okay.
Okay. So, however, this has to be deployed at the time of production in handlooms, on handlooms rather, the device. Okay.
Yeah.
So, how we have currently decided to price, we have not yet into the market. So, the way we want to price is, we have device and there is annual subscription cost. Means everything that weaver produces, we will be certifying it, giving them that traceability, whatever labels and all the stuff.
Great, great.
Okay, so now this device is costing around 10K and subscription service will cost 10K. So to begin with, there is a big entry barrier, right? You say I have to first year, I have to literally spend like 20,000 rupees for each loom. From a cost perspective, we feel that its entry barrier is high. So how do we price it? Should we say that, okay, this is a membership cost as device cost, and then we go for subscription cost? Or we say that, you club together and say that, make it monthly, yearly subscription cost as 15,000 and say, realize the device cost, over 2 years. So how does, yeah.
Very well, Vijay, I must say that you're solving an amazing problem.
Yeah.
I never thought that it could be solved.
Oh, thank you.
Because I live in Pune and there's a place called Yeola. From Yeola, there comes a Yeola silk saris, which are very, Yeola pattern saris, which are very famous. So I have a bit of a radical view over here on, and probably you might want to see that your customers are not manufacturers. Your customers are primarily retail shop owners and who are selling those saris at about 10,000, 20,000 a piece.
Right.
It is their customers who are probing them, hey, is it authentic or not?
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
So if you convince, maybe, if you have more marketing resources, if you convince those retailers to use your seal and give a seal of like, probably 100 rupees a seal, a sari, that could work. And that will, these people would force the manufacturers to build in that seal of quality when they produce. The reason why your manufacturers are not willing to buy it at that price, because they do not have, you're disrupting a marketplace.
Yeah.
There's currently no need. And if a manufacturer is probably cheating, he definitely doesn't want your seal.
Yeah.
And since there is no certifying authority, the authenticated weaver, he has no way that if he takes your seal, can he price his product a bit more?
Yeah.
So if I'm a handloom weaver and if I price my Paitni at 10,000, if I add your seal, can I sell the Paitni at 11,000 or so? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But if there's a retailer who says that, hey, you take the seal, and I want all the saris which come to me having this seal, and that's when I'm going to pay. So look at those ways as well. And
So we are exploring both. so retailers as well as artisans. So there's positive response on both the sides. So even for retailers, for example, if he has to invest, say for each weaver, he has to invest certain device as well as subscription, would be, we feel that that's an entry barrier, about 20,000 rupees for each loom. So,
well, I don't think this device, when installed, should be able to run at least 3-4 years.
Yeah, easy 3 years maybe, 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, so then you could spread your cost over 2 to 3 years.
Okay, is that a practice? Because the cash flow, right? Again, device cost will be investing in the as a at the beginning itself. So whereas you are realizing it later, so there will be an impact on the cash flows. But in the real, I mean, other businesses, such problems where device like Tata Sky is a model,
Yes.
or Airtel broadband is a model where there is a device as well as there is a subscription cost. But the device cost there is relatively lower. So because of which they are able to bundle together with the.
No, the Tata Sky devices are costlier than this get sold at, but they cover the cost at about a year's time.
Okay.
So yes, it's a practice.
So or maybe that you, if device cost is 10,000 rupees, you realize 5,000 as advance membership or something like that. Rest 1,000 you spread out or something like
Absolutely. You need to take a cost of device initially, some percentage of it, and then some percentage you can collect it over a year. Make sure that your device is not replicable. Because if the loom weaver thinks that the device can be replicated, he would do so. So your innovation should lie at the retailer's end. You might want to put signboards across places saying that, hey, the authentic saris are the one with your kosha mark.
True.
One other way of doing it is going to those weaver associations and then pitching it to them.
True. Yeah.
Amit.
Yes.
There is one more point which relates to this Mr. Vijaya's product. Can we also try to educate the end buyer? Because now in every home, the sari is a very emotionally connected commodity these days. Okay, so is it possible to somehow through social media to publish that we are coming up with such a stamping or approving mechanism, and if you buy that, we guarantee you that you will get authentic Banarasi or authentic South Indian sari. So will that also help Vijay, so that the customers will themselves go to shop and say, okay, we want the kosha approved sari. So customer will demand for that. The end customer.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Paresh. That's a you may make a WhatsApp viral video or something like that.
Yeah, and then Vijaya, when it comes to this emotional buying of generally the sari and all, then people won't mind paying say 100, 200, 500 rupees extra if they are sure that whatever product I'm getting is authentic Banarasi sari or authentic sari from say Kerala or Karnataka. So people won't mind paying extra.
Yeah, agree on that point, Paresh. Thank you. I think
Thank you so much.
Amit, we have one more question from Mr. Shadab. Can we take it?
Okay, sure. Yep. Please.
Okay.
Please take care.
So Mr. Shadab Khatib is from N Turing Technologies Private Limited. He says that they are into AI bot and communication software. His question is, what is the best practices in refund policies while structuring subscription-based products? What are the do's and don'ts in it, or is it not to be given at all?
No. So so subscription, when you are a subscription user, and that's practically in everywhere, think about the relationship between the user and the product company as that of a tenant and a owner. So you would want to consult a lawyer onto refund, but one of the practice is that it is you collect the subscription first, and the refund is probably to the cost of that 1 month subscription or 2 month subscription which you have had. And that too, the practice you might want to inculcate is identify the problem, see if it is solvable, and if still the customer wants a refund, then probably the last resort would be to give the monthly refund. But Shadab, you can tell more what specific problem you are facing. How many customers have asked you for refund?
No, the customers. Hello.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the customers haven't asked for a refund, but we want to have all the policies upfront because the customers which we are dealing with are corporates and businesses. So we don't want to have any bad reputation on the software, on the company that does not give refund or the value goes bad. So that.
So I would suggest that you reach out to those cyber law or about the refund policies. They are directed by the ministry, the laws of the land, A. And B, the Good Samaritan policy on refund is typically limited to 1 month's refund. So in the subscription-based model, you're always a tenant. The user is always a tenant, and it is the platform owner who owns the content. So yeah, that should help. You don't have to give, like, if a customer is there for 36 months and the 37th month he asks a refund, you just give him a 1 month refund and not the 36th month refund.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm sorry, we are running out of time over here, but we do have, we can definitely answer questions more and more. As Harneet mentioned, this is more of a training session where we take 1 or 2 examples and solve them. It is in the coaching part where we would be able to give more specific answers. If you're looking at pricing, what your product needs to be priced, the exact model and other things can be done in those things.
Thank you, Amit. Paresh, would you like to add some closing remarks before we hand it over to Mr. Golden?
Yeah, so I was really, listening very carefully the conversation, the question answer part, and that is the most, crucial part of last 1.5 hours. I learned a lot about all our friends who are running their businesses. As Harneet and Amit said, this is just a start. The association of Product Tank and Deshpande startup would go ahead, and this was just a start point. So we will be in touch with you all via Golden's and his team. So you can just get connected with Golden, and then Mr. Golden can approach us, and then we will have one-on-one coaching if needed. But however, I would say it was a nice, interaction with you all. And many thanks to Mr. Golden and his team and entire Deshpande startup, and thanks to all the participants who spare their valuable time. And also we would like to see you in future with some other ways of collaborations. So that's it from my side. So may I request Golden to share his closing remarks?
Paresh, one thing, do give us a shout out on LinkedIn or whatever social platform.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks, Amit, and thanks, Paresh. Thanks, Harneet, for your time too. I think this was good to get started, starting with the fundamentals and then being able to answer a few questions specifically. I'm sure that some of the startups would like to connect with you, and I'll facilitate that part, right? But I think this is a journey that we can look forward to with Product Tank being involved closely with our startups growth also. So really appreciate your time, and I look forward to engaging more. Right? Thank you, guys.
Okay.
Thank you everyone for joining. Really appreciate you guys asking questions and being involved and making this participative.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure meeting you all. We'll look forward to more interactions.
Great, great. Thank you.
Thank you.